Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. This is our group's presentation for the task Learning to Learn module for Language Learning Strategy course. The members of our group are Maisarah binti Mat Yasin, Muhammad Syamil bin Muhammad Ali, and Nur Harni binti Matali. The first part of this presentation is the introduction, followed with the elaboration and explanation of Learning Activity 1, Run and Match. The third part of this presentation is Learning Activity 2, Act It Out, as well as Learning Activity 3, Team Relay. The last part of this presentation is the conclusion. Our Learning to Learn module is based on Oxford's model of language learning strategy. There are 6 categories in this model: memory strategies, cognitive strategies, compensation strategies, metacognitive strategies, affective strategies, and social strategies. This model has become extensively used in language teaching and learning because it gives a realistic direction for both teachers and students to improve language learning process.
As for this module, there are 3 different learning strategies with the same theme, which focusing on occupation. As for the first learning strategy is Run and Match. Level of proficiency for this strategy is beginner level. Next learning strategy is Act It Out, where the level of proficiency of this strategy is intermediate. The last learning strategy is Team Relay. Level of proficiency for this learning strategy are intermediate and advanced. Learning strategy 1. Run and Match. Classification of strategy for learning strategy number 1. There are 4 main strategies for this learning strategy. The first one is memory strategy, where people link keywords from occupation to a familiar image. Next is cognitive strategy, where people can analyze the context or given clues to logically deduce the occupation being described, and people can observe various examples of occupation accordingly. Next strategy is compensation strategy, where people guess intelligently when they are unsure about certain occupation. The last strategy of this learning strategy is social strategy. People can ask questions to clarify doubt and seek further information about occupation from teachers or peers, and people can share information about occupation from their own cultures to enrich the learning experience and promote cross-cultural understanding. Purpose of this learning strategy is to identify various occupations in English through matching activity to enhance their vocabulary and comprehension skill. There are 3 main ideas for this learning strategy. The first one is engage students in an interactive and educational experience that combine fun with learning. The second one is encourage critical thinking among the students while matching the word cards with the correct occupations. And the last one is expanding students' vocabulary related to work and profession. This is the steps and instruction for this learning strategy. Firstly, teacher will show 2 different pictures of occupation in front of the classroom. Based on those 2 pictures, teacher asks pupils to name the occupation. This is to recall their general knowledge whether they can identify the occupation or not. Next, teacher will paste 10 different pictures of occupation around the classroom. Teacher then introduce Run and Match to the pupil. Those are the example of occupation. Basically, for this activity, teacher will provide different word cards for each pupils, and they need to match the word cards with the correct pictures pasted around the classroom. From the slide, those are the example of the word card provided by the teacher to each pupils. To start the activity, teacher will ask pupils to ready at their own place, and once teacher shout go, pupil needs to run and match the word card with the correct pictures. Those who are already matched the word cards need to stand beside those pictures. Teacher then discuss the answer with the pupils. Once they have finished with the activity, teacher provide worksheet for the pupils. For the worksheet, pupils needs to match the pictures with the correct occupation. Then, teacher will discuss the answers with the pupil. This is to test their memory ability, whether they are still remembering the lesson that they have learned. Lastly, before the lesson ends, teacher provide evaluation form to the pupils. This is to ask their feedback about the lesson. From the evaluation form, people need to tick emoji that show how they feel about the lesson.
Learning strategy 2. Act it out. There are 4 types of strategies covered in learning strategy 2. The first strategy is memory strategy, in which the pupils recall the description of occupation to guess the answer. The next strategy is cognitive strategy, in which pupils do the actions based on their understanding. The third strategy is metacognitive strategy, in which the pupils have to focus on the actions done by other pupils to describe the occupation correctly. And the last strategy used in this learning strategy is social strategy, in which the pupils get to participate in group activity and practice speaking skill in a social context. The purpose of this learning strategy is to enhance speaking skill by describing the occupation using simple sentences, targeting lower primary pupils of Year 3. The main idea or usage of this strategy is to enhance creativity and critical thinking of pupils in acting out and guessing the occupation, as well as encourage pupils to speak confidently while participating in a fun activity. The activity will start with the teacher recapping the occupation that the pupils learned in the previous lesson. The teacher will check the pupils' spelling of occupation first by showing the occupation flashcards. And the teacher also will correct pupil spelling mistakes and ensure all pupils have mastered the spelling. In the next step, the pupils will be guided by the teacher to read the description of the occupation in the back of the occupation flashcard. The pupils will be also guided by the teacher to read the description as well as acting out the occupation. Before starting the activity, the pupils will be divided into a few groups. In each group, the role of actor and guesser will be assigned in order to play the game or activity of charades, or in this strategy, act it out. The rule of the activity will be only pupils who become actors can look at the flashcards shown by the teacher. And the pupils who do the action must act out the occupation without speaking and only using gestures, facial expressions, and body language to convey the meaning of the occupation. Other pupils within the group who guess must observe the actor's actions and call out the occupation as well as describe the occupation correctly. The group who completed the activity in the shortest time wins the game. After the activity, pupils will complete the worksheets individually. At the end of the lesson, pupils will be given an evaluation form to tick the symbol that answers the questions to indicate their rating of the activity.
Hi everyone, my name is Nurharni and I will continue the presentation from my friends. I will explain about team relay for learning strategy number 3. The strategy classification for team relay activities are memory strategies through the use of visual aids and repetitions, which are creating mental linkage, applying images and sounds, which people using picture cards and drawing to remember job titles and reviewing well. Second one, cognitive strategies through its collaborative nature, which are practicing, and people receiving and sending messages like reading cards, writing sentences, analyzing and reasoning, and creating structure for input and output. The third is social strategies with practical application of languages. And the fourth one is effective strategies by creating a low pressure, encouraging environment, which is lowering anxiety, collaborative game-like atmosphere, encouraging yourself completing of each round and taking emotional temperature, which people discussing feelings about future jobs. The purpose for this activity is to enhance fundamental reading and writing abilities and practice constructing simple sentences. The main idea or usage for this activity are expand vocabulary related to common occupations, enhancing both people's linguistic abilities and social emotional growth, engages multiple learning modalities, and the last one, encourage teamwork and cooperation. 15 steps and instruction for the team-related activities. Number 1, teacher will divide the class into small teams, 3 to 5 students each. Number 2, at one end of the classroom, teacher set up a writing station for each team with a large piece of paper and markers. Number 3, at the other end, teacher place a book or basket with occupation-related word cards or simple picture cards. Number 4, teacher creates word card with simple job title, example, doctor, teacher, chef, farmer. And number 5, on each team's paper, teacher writes the sentence starter, when we grow up, we want to be. And number 6, the first students from each team runs to the box, selects a card and runs back. Step number 7 is they write the job on their team's paper and draw a quick simple picture next to it. Step number 8, they then tag the next teammate who repeats the process. Step number 9, continue until all team members have added a job to the list. Step number 10, after listing jobs, teams can do a second relay to add simple details. Step number 11, teacher will provide word cards with verbs or object related to job, example, help people, cook food and drive car. And step number 12, students run, select a card and add it next to the appropriate job on their list. Step number 13, teams work together to check spelling and add any missing words to form complex sentences. Step number 14, the complex sentences is like when we grow up, we want to be doctors, we will help people. And the last step, each team presents their list to the class with members taking turns to read a job and its detail. There are 3 ways to tracking student progress. Number 1, teacher will have students say a complete sentence about a job. Example, this is a teacher. Teacher teach pupils. Number 2, teacher showing job pictures and ask students to name them individually. And number 3, ask students to write 2 to 3 job sentences independently. Here is the self-assessment for the pupils. The people will answer the question. This is how I read my understanding of the blank activity. So the people will circle one of the face that represent their feeling. And for the conclusion, this multifaceted approach not only builds essential language skill but also does so in an engaging, low-pressure environment. The interactive nature of the activity encourages active participation, allowing students to learn from each other as well as from the teacher. By combining vocabulary acquisition with practical language use, students can begin to see the real-world application of their English skills. Furthermore, the focus on simple sentence structures and basic job description is appropriately tailored to the developmental stage of Year 3 students. This lays a strong foundation for more complex language tasks in future years, while building confidence in their current abilities. Overall, this activity provides a well-rounded language learning experience that addresses key areas of vocabulary, speaking, reading, and writing in an age-appropriate and enjoyable manner. That's all. Thank you from us. Thank you for listening.